Thank you.
Councillor Vokes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Chris, you're such an engineer at heart. Like, we ask you what time it is. You tell us how a watch is made. Like, what I want to know is, when is the moratorium going to be lifted?
Through Your Worship, I didn't put it in place. That would be council's decision to lift it.
Good point, by the way. I appreciate that. So let me ask you this. What would your recommendation be to council for considering lifting the moratorium?
Through Your Worship, I believe, we've talked at least getting these capital works done. If that's the reasons council put the moratorium in place, as far as my understanding of it was that they needed to act on the flooding that we had. Until those capital works are in place, we've done minor improvements to the system as far as, improving some of the inflow and infiltration that we found, but we haven't found, that where I can say, yeah, we fixed that. After this capital works, the system will be greatly enhanced and much more robust. You know what? That would be a time where I would say, and then we can talk about the policy and the softer side of things for moving forward.
So would you suggest a late fall tentative timeline?
Through Your Worship, I think every report I've given you on this, I've noted that fall 2016 is that where everything's going to tie in, whether it was this one or 2 weeks ago. So that seems to be when the regional guidelines coming into place. That seems to be, hopefully, knock on wood, when this construction will be completed. So I think, you know what, we can have a pretty good discussion in fall of 2016.
Okay, that sounds good. One last thing, Chris. Could help me out a little bit on the open cut on South Talbot. I'm a little concerned about that because most of it has been, at this point, really non-invasive. So when you say open cut to me, what does that mean?
Open cut, through Your Worship, full-blown construction, similar to Bryan. So it's going to be a construction site. Unfortunately, on South Talbot, we have a parking lane, which will allow us to maintain traffic flow and not have the same issues or the hardships that the people on Bryan Stanton Court had to go through. But it will be full-blown construction.
So that's going to take place on the west side of Victoria?
Yeah. Through Your Worship, the force main right now in the gravity sewer is on the highway side of South Talbot, so it'll be on that half of the road where the trail is. In between. Basically, the sewer runs under the curb right in that area. So that half of the road will be open cut. What we're looking at doing is through creative budgeting, though, being able to shave and pave the rest of South Talbot, so the entire road at the end of the project is similar to Bryan's.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? I have a question, Chris. Like, when we're talking about getting back into the construction period again, like, we've got this humongous pipe that's going to get rid of our water. Our little pipes coming out of subdivisions now, like down Eiler Avenue, with just about every house flooded, every other house. Say we got one this side. These people that have building permits already that we've stopped, when we open those back up, are these people going to be able to put that small pipe in there, or are we going to request them to put a larger one to make sure the water does get out of that area rather than give us a flooding problem again? Are we going to have to do that?
Through Your Worship, I don't foresee the actual service connection size changing. I think ultimately it's an entire system. So when you think of a system, the ditches are backing up, the outflows are backing up, the large pipes are backing up, which then ultimately creates, the feeder pipes and the smaller pipes to back up and then gets in the basements. If we can get the water out of the large pipes, it'll allow the water from whatever size pipe to get into those. So I don't see that being changed.
Okay, good. Thank you. Anything further? Motion received. The report. Councillor Vokes, Councillor Caxero. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you.
Seven C on the agenda this evening is Corporate Services Department Report Number Clerk 2016-005, reappointment to the Municipal Heritage Committee for receipt, and that Council approve the appointment of Phil Pocock to the Heritage Committee and that Schedule A to bylaw number 1376 be updated accordingly.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Meloche, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? I'd just like to say thank you, Mr. Polcott, for volunteering your time. All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 7D, Corporate Services Department, Report Number 2016-08, Re-Extension Agreements, Durano and McCaffrey, for receipt, and that council concurs with the recommendations, and that bylaw number 1545 being a bylaw to authorize an extension agreement between Durano and the town of Essex, and bylaw number 1544 to authorize an extension agreement between McCaffrey and the town of Essex be read a first, second, third, and finally passed on August 2nd, 2016.
By Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Meloche.
Thank you, through your worship. I'm just going to ask Ms. Hunter, our Director of Corporate Services and Treasurer, to explain a little bit on this one. Thank you.
Mrs. Hunter.
Through your worship, you wanted an explanation of the process, Deputy Mayor? Is that what you're looking for?
Basically, in most cases, we're not very, how can I put it? We don't allow this to happen. But
Through
we
your
are in
worship,
this
I can
case, and
explain
I
this.
want to know why we're allowing it in this case.
Essentially, when we register a tax arrear certificate against a property through the registration process, they have 1 year in which to pay the cancellation price and avoid going through a tax sale process. Quite often what happens is they get close to that 1 year period when we would send out a final notice and say, okay, your time is up, and we're now going to proceed to the tax sale step of this process. During that, we quite often get calls from those that have, for whatever reason, haven't addressed the situation previously, and they're looking for an agreement to extend for a period of time in order to get the monies put together to make the full payment. Normally, they ask for sometimes up to 2 years. We stipulate the maximum. There's nothing in law that says we can stipulate, but we usually stipulate a 6-month maximum because they've already had a full year. But our objective is not to take their home. Our objective is to get their taxes paid and get the account back down to zero. So the extension agreement gives them a little bit more time. It's not waiving any penalty, it's not waiving any taxes, it's just giving them a little bit more time to put that money together. In the case of the one that was $24,000, we received a lump sum payment today of $11,000. So I've never had one of these where they have not gone through with the process and paid off within the period that we've demanded. So this is just trying to keep the home in this is an avenue that the municipal act allows us to go in terms of that process.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Caxero.
Through you to either Mr. Auger or Mrs. Hunter, just for clarification, the addition to the agenda tonight is a third one, correct?
Speaking through your worship, yes, it's a third one that was added tonight.
Thank you.
Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
Item 7E on the agenda, Infrastructure and Development, Report Number 2016-011, results of request for tender for Third Concession Road rehabilitation. For receipt, and that council concurs with the recommendations, and the request for the tender of Third Concession Road rehabilitation be awarded to Norjohn Contracting and Paving Limited in the amount of $655,563.61, net of HST rebate.
Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, I really have a problem with this tender here. To Chris, we only had one tender come in on this project here.
Through your worship, that's correct.
And my question, I'd like to see a retender, to be honest with you. This process here, I live in that area, and this process was put in last year. I think the 2 kilometers, Chris, is what, 10 months old? I don't know if anybody's been down that road, but that road's popping all over the place. And this company is from out of town, and it's a shame to me that we have to have another company come in and repair it. Shepley has gone in there and did repairs on that road. And I find that it's not right. This company tendered in the past, and they can't repair the road. And to me, to put 3 or 4 inches of product on a road that is destroyed already, I think we're throwing good taxpayers' money out the door. To me, I think that road's got to be reworked. Same with the 4th concession. The 3rd's in the same shape. These roads got to be reworked and done properly. I can't see throwing good taxpayers' money out the door. That road there, the little section we did at the east end of the 3rd, that road looks like it's 10 years old, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to support this request at all. And I hope I get a second. I'll make that motion. And I hope I get a seconder to support me.
Can we just discuss the report first?
We can
Before
discuss.
you make, I'll come back for
Through
a
your
motion.
worship, we can.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nepsey, you have some answers for questions Councillor Snively just asked.
Sure. Thank you. Through your worship. I guess I want to discuss again with council, as I did in the large meeting room we had. It was a month or two ago. We had a discussion and a summary as far as our roads and why different processes were chosen for different roads. We've got, through your worship, we've got 2 tenders tonight for surface treatment of rural roads. One utilizing a cold recycled asphalt mix, and one utilizing what we would consider that we're used to here, the pulverizing and the tar and chip roads, and they're both on the agenda tonight. As far as administration, when we're looking at these roads to rehab and to fix and trying to figure out what process is best, we're looking at the road, we're looking at the failures in the past year, we're looking at the, what's happened to it, what's taken place to it, the amount of traffic counts it gets, all those things that we're taking into account when we're looking at these roads. The 3rd concession has, probably got 4 to 6 inches of tar and chip on it already, with asphalt padding done over the years, from 30 years ago plus, that road has had this process. I know prior to amalgamation that received a lift of tar and chip almost every year, right? So, we look at the road, and yes, there is some rutting on the road. Absolutely, there's rutting, but the overall shape of the road, it wasn't getting pushed like the Gesto was. It wasn't getting pushed like the 5th was. The overall shape of the road, other than the rutting, we felt was in good condition. Also with the 3rd, when we are considering, how do we attack this road? Do we pulverize it? Do we open it up? The 3rd, I don't know if you know, but I noted this in our backroom meeting, there's a corduroy road under sections of the 3rd. A corduroy road is a road that's built with wood, logs, with minimal base on it. So the concern was, if we start to open up that road, we've just gone from a pulverizing and a tar and chip process to full-blown reconstruction. The fact that the road has maintained its shape other than some rutting led us to the decision to use the cold recycled asphalt process. This process may be new to us, but it's not new to the industry. It's not snake oil that I'm buying here. This process has been around for 30 plus years and used successfully throughout the province. I noted that in my report as far as a little bit on this process. It's a green process. It's using recycled asphalt. It's using a cold mix as opposed to a hot mix, so it saves environmentally. It's responsible that way. Ultimately, these processes require a lift of tar and chip. Well, they don't need it actually to work. We put the tar and chip on there to seal the road after. So this process is a 1-year rehab process. You put in the 4 inches of this recycled asphalt that they get, they mix it in, they add some emulsion to it, they apply the recycled asphalt. It helps fill in some of the gaps in the rutting that we have because it's 4 inches thick, similar to asphalt padding. We have allowed for some asphalt padding in some of the more severe ruts to help make up some of those ruts so that the consistency of the ride is there. Sorry, I'm just on track here. So, as far as the process that we had this year, that is similar process, same spec. It's an OPS spec. Again, this isn't a new process. The Ontario province has a standard specification, similar as they have for tar and chip, similar to they have for curbs, gutters, every construction process that we know. Yes, there are some deficient areas in this construction project, absolutely, and I've noted that since day one. But similar to every capital construction project I have, there are deficiencies at the end. And that goes for all our projects. It goes for previous tar and chip jobs. It goes for previous construction jobs, whether they be full-blown road reconstruction, Dunn Road, Jenner Street. They all have issues that have to be maintained. The contractor has noted and identified these areas, absolutely, and is returning to fix these deficiencies. Again, similar to any construction project that we've had in the municipality. As far as costs go, I never pushed it for the costs. I think the costs, although you save a little bit, because you don't have to, ultimately the process is again done in 1 year, but again, it's minimal. We're talking potentially 8 to 10 grand a click savings, but it's not being chosen for the cost, it's being recommended for the process, for what we feel on this road is a better fit and a better solution to rehabbing this road. The Gesto Road, which is the second report here, pulverizing and reconstructing. Absolutely. That road is, we've got some major issues that have to be dug out as far as soft spots go, and that road we felt needed to go that way. The third, as far as this direction, we feel that this process is a suitable process. Again, not 100% happy with the results we got last year, but the contractor has noted that they will repair those. I also, I guess, as far as the technicalities of the road and the process, there's Mr. Derek Nunn is in the audience. He's the division manager for Norjon. So he can answer as far as technical questions, as far as concerns about repairing the issues we had. I'm sure Mr. Nunn would be more than happy to step in and answer those questions for council. Again, I just wanted to give you a little background as far as how we got there, why we're there, and if you have any more questions, by all means.
Councillor Snively?
Through your worship, to Chris. How can you explain to me, as a taxpayer, why this road is popping? And you say there's not a lot there. There's a lot. There's a lot of popping on that road. I went down the road today, and there's open holes in that road today. Today, there's more open holes on that road. If this fella's out in the audience, I'd like to find out, through you, your worship, if we can allow him to speak.
Okay. You take your chair, sir. I didn't catch your name, but I'll get it. Councillor Snively's made a motion that,
Allow him to speak.
and Councillor Caxero supports. Any question to the motion? All in favor? Motion carried. Just give us your name, sir. Derek Nutt. Hit the purple one on top. Thank you, sir. Councillor Snively.
Your worship, I'd like you to explain to me, as a taxpayer, why this road is popping all over the place, and it's only about 10 months old. And don't tell me it's not, because it is.
Yes, sir.
probably 2 kilometers worth of road there, and I would say, yes, there's 150 meters roughly that's popping in the middle. I drove it today as well before I came to the meeting. I can certainly explain why there are a couple of new holes. It looks as though someone has spun their tires almost intentionally in a couple of spots. We've met with staff. We know that there are some issues, and we certainly plan on coming back to repair them, but it's not any different than any of our other construction operations or any other repair work that we would do.
Through your worship, further to that. I seen the 2 spots where somebody spun their tire. I'm not talking that, but if you go east of there, there's new holes in that road. They're about like this. I seen them today, and you can't say they're not there because they are there. I travel the road almost every day.
I won't disagree, and I know that there has been some, I'll call it cold patch, that's been placed in some of the early holes, and I know that that has come out. I don't believe that any of the process that we placed after last season, I know there was some early repair work that was done. I don't think that there is anything more that's coming out other than that cold patch repair work that's been done, I believe, by the town.
Okay, further, just one further thing. Now, we all know last winter was a mild winter.
Sure.
What's going to happen if we have a very cold winter with lots of frost? What's going to happen to that road? And we had that much damage on that road this year already in 10 months.
If I may, the process is a little bit tender to begin with in that it was placed later in the season than we would normally like to do that type of work. The work was called late, so there is some moisture that gets held in there. We capped it as early as possible. If we get a harsh winter, but if it is prepared properly and it cures properly before we get the winter, we have done work across the province for 30 years, and we have a little bit of repair work to do every spring. We return to do it.
One last thing further to that. If you say the process was late going down, why was it put down in the first place then? Why did you go ahead and put it down if it was late in the season?
Well, we do have some contractual obligations. We don't know what the weather is going to turn in September, October. We're trying to get the work done that we have under contract. I would say it's similar to this year that we've got a full plate of construction. We can't get everything done at once, and as the work is called, as the work is awarded, so the work is done. And if it is later in the year, it's later in the year.
Thank you. As a taxpayer, I do not support your product. I'm sorry.
I appreciate
Deputy Mayor Milosh, Councillor Vokes, and Councillor Caxero.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'm going to go to Mr. Nepsey here. So, Mr. Nepsey, obviously, our administrative staff must think that this is last year's project on this was a success if we're going to move on with the same process, that you believe that this is a good process. That's question number one.
Through your worship, yes. I wouldn't have written the report otherwise, yes.
Okay. So right now we're looking at some of the issues that we've had with last year's project. And I guess my concern would be that are we going to have the same issues going forward with the next 2 to 4 kilometers? It sounds like it'd be pretty impossible to let us know that without knowing what the weather conditions are going to be based on what was just said. But at the same time, if we know that we're going to have those kind of issues, is there any way of making sure that going forward, that if we're going to use this process, that we're doing it a little bit earlier to try and make sure that we have the proper amount of time to have it cured and capped and so on. I understand what Councillor Snipley is saying, because I too have driven the road and had some concerns about, this is just newly constructed and it's showing wear already to that extent, and it just caused me some concern that is it going to be better as we go along, because it's very embarrassing to move forward with the same project with the same process if we're setting ourselves up for failure. So I'm just concerned, and I want to be kind of reassured that, we're not going to see the same kind of issues. Mr. Nepsey?
Mr. Nepsey.
Through your worship, as I noted, it's similar to any construction project. There's an OPS spec for it. It has to be constructed a certain way. We've had township roads that have washerboard. Not supposed to have washerboard, but we have them. I don't think I've heard at council ever come back and say, let's not do township again. We had washerboard last year. Because the plan is not to have washerboard. If it's done properly, there should be no washerboard. We've had bleeding through our township. I have asphalt roads that I've had to, seal the center line after 2 years, full-blown new construction. Is that supposed to happen? Absolutely not. But again, I don't see council coming back here and asking me, saying, well, I don't want to asphalt a road again, ever, because this road had the middle seam come apart, and I had to crack fill it. We take care of those issues, right? We've had construction projects where we've laid asphalt late into the winter, full-blown reconstruction. We've argued with contractors and asphalt suppliers alike to say where they don't want to take responsibility because, they feel it's too cold. And we've had success for the most part with those. We've had some issues that we ultimately have to take care of in the spring again. So it's construction, right? If it's done per spec and done per the way it's supposed to, absolutely, there will be no issues. Can I say there won't be? You're right, I can't. But we feel the process is suitable for this application, and that's why we're recommending this process for the third, and not for the other roads right now.
Thank you for your answer. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I now have Councilor votes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Merely a few minutes ago, I said to the people here tonight that I was willing to walk out onto a limb to try to recover $20 per household as a result of a library strike. And then merely minutes later, I'm being asked to spend $655,000 on a process that fails. I fail to see the humor in it, sir, when you're as you laugh, when we're responsible for that type of funding. And certainly not challenge you as an individual, but challenging the process. So I take a little appallment in the fact that somewhere there's some humor to be found in that. I personally can't discover it anywhere. So with that being said, in terms of the meeting that Chris is talking about, it was I who asked for that meeting 4 months ago. It was I who shared with council about the condition of the road at that time. And I went down there personally myself again, and I've been down there several times. The road has gotten in worse condition than when I asked for that meeting 4 months ago. It's progressively degraded more. And again, it's not me just saying it based on a document I read and then sharing that with you as council. It's right in front of you. You can see it. It simply fails. And when I hear that the representative of the company comes before me and council collectively and says the reason the road deteriorated as a result of your request to hear from him, or the mayor, I believe, whoever it was, the answer to the deterioration of the road is, well, somebody must went down there and spun tires on it. So we spend $655,000 on a process where terribly at any time somebody could get the anxiety to go down there and spin their tires, and we're on the hook for a repair. That's what he said. And I don't have any interest as a counselor at this place and time for this particular road accepting that process. Because the reality is, council, it fails. We could sit here till next week at this time. We could go to the 3rd and 4th at the end of that 1 week period, and we'll discover the same thing. The road has failed. The process has failed. So now we're trying to debate, and I can't believe we're debating it, to decide whether or not to put another $655,000 into a process as a result of somebody from the company explaining to us why it failed, what template could have happened, and the reason why it is. He could talk all day. I go to the third and fourth, the road failed. So I'll just leave it at that. I think we got to be responsible to what we do. I think it confirms, for whatever reason, this process doesn't work on this road, these roads, and it certainly is not rewarding us spending another $165,000 to do the same thing again, only to come back here 9 months from now and have the same discussions I asked council to get together for 4 months ago. Does that make sense to anybody in this room, out of the fact of trying to pacify somebody with the award? It doesn't. It's not good governance. It's not even close to good governance. It's what we do.
Finish there? Thank you. Councillor Caxero.
Through your worship, and I forget your name? Derek. So the question is, I mean, if you guys have been at this for 30 years, certainly you would think over the course of time you'd get better at it, and I guess assess situations as well as possible, and I mean, 30 years in, you should be building almost to a T the best roads you can build. I get it that there are implications that are out of your control, such as weather. But in my mind, you know, my concern is the same. I don't want to see the same thing happen this year that happened last year. So what assurance do we have in spending over $500,000 that the same problems aren't going to happen again? If it's strictly weather, if that's what drives the issue of getting potholes or the road popping, then I would suggest that as a company that wants to make money, wants to stay in business, and has been in business for 30 years, in the contract it should be written that under certain conditions you will not do this process. That's just my opinion. Maybe you can't do that. Maybe that's just not part of the construction business to do that, but I certainly wouldn't want to face this because I'm skeptical of the process also. Not because I don't think the process can't work, but it didn't work in this first case. So what causes me to want to spend another $650,000 on the same process if there's going to be this issue happen again, potentially? If there's some sort of assurance that it won't, or there's going to be checks in place to try to not allow it to happen, then maybe that's different. But if not, then I'm not sure how I make that decision to go ahead with the same process.
Sir? Councillor? Oh. Sir? Derek?
How much time do I have? I can answer probably all of your questions and concerns. I thought that Mr. Nepsey did an excellent job of that earlier. There are contractual obligations that we have if there are problems with the road that we will come back, fix them. There are certainly different expectations based on the specifications that are written versus someone that drives the road every day. There is no structural failure in that road currently. There are some potholes, I will admit to that. Taking a bit of offense to the fact that I'm smiling, I'm not really laughing. I know that this is serious business. I'm not here to say that it is not. The company has been in business for far longer than 30 years. We have made some mistakes. We've come back and fixed them. We don't build every road perfectly. Sometimes it is the weather. Sometimes it's the material. Sometimes it's the town shouldering machine that comes out and rips the road out 10 days after we've finished it. Sometimes it's someone that drives out of a field with their discs down and rips up the east end of the road. There are a number of things that happen after we leave the site that we have no control over. There are a number of things that happen during construction that we have no control over. We have a couple of potholes out there, and I think Councillor Snively probably said it best when he said, we are awarding a contract to somebody from out of town. And I really think that that might be part of the problem.
Thanks, sir. Finish, Bill? Okay. I have Councillor Bjorkman, and then Councillor Bondi, and then Councillor Snively, one more time.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm kind of questioning really how we're handling this evening and the way we're addressing the issue. This is to me a meeting we should be having specifically about this, if this is how we're going to go on. I would just like to make a few statements about, I've spent a lot of time the last couple of weeks looking at different processes, talking with contractors, reading on a website. This is a well-proven process. This process is used all across North America. It's used by the Federal Highway Administration. It's used in many different areas. It's well used on top of a gravel compacted road. This is really where it got its start. But then as it was used as an eco-friendly material, it spread more and more. But my questions were with regard to the ruts. When they're filled, does it trap moisture, and does that moisture pop after the winter? If it gets in there too late and the moisture hasn't had a chance to get out of there and the moisture is trapped inside, is that something that can happen? And it's something that obviously can, and if it's in a certain area, then it's Norjohn's job, as it says on their website, that they come back and repair with CRM. Right now what's happening is it's being filled with pothole repair. It's not being filled with the patching that they will do. So they will come back and patch that area with the proper materials. I think what we need to be looking at is the reason that Chris suggested this process for this road is the base that's in this road. We're talking about, if we listen to the whole conversation, a log base. That if we go in and pulverize, we have a very good chance of it not being just the job we were looking at, but being much more. So is this an appropriate process for a specific road? We don't do it on every road. We've got, as you've pointed out, we've got lots of stuff coming up that has nothing to do with this process. They identified this process as something that would work on a road that had a base like this particular one. So that's the recommendation from our administration. I've driven the road. We've all been out. We've all driven the road. And you can see there are really specific areas where it's bad. And that's going to be taken out and repaired. If we don't trust it, and we're really thinking that way, then there's nothing that says we can't pull back and say, you know what, you want to have more discussion on this? We want to have a roads committee sit down and say, you know what, we want to work with administration as they're choosing projects and explain to us, why we're doing on a particular road. Well, that's another matter. But to sit here tonight and figure that we're going to decide what the best process is or what doesn't work, I'm not confident in that. I don't have the education. I don't have the knowledge to do that. But if that's what we're doing, then I'm suggesting we just back away from this right now and readdress it, if that's the direction this council is going. Because personally, I don't feel comfortable saying, you know what, based on the one road that I've looked at and interacted with, this process is no good anywhere. I'm not comfortable there. It's also a lot of money, and if we go the other route, it's going to be a lot more money if we actually do go through that log base. So that's where I am. I understand the reason they came up with the process. Their job on their website and in their material is to replace it with the proper material. That's what they'll do when they patch the road. And if we're not comfortable moving forward, we should not move forward. This should not be something we decide tonight, if that's the way the majority of council is feeling.
You, sir, Councilor Bondi?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Bjorkman. I echo your sentiments. This council has had a strong mandate of investing in infrastructure this term, even so much so that we pulled money out of the landfill reserve so that we could spend more money on roads. That being said, if we're focusing on roads, we got to do it right. And I'm not saying the contractor should be in the hot seat, because if his material is performing to the specs, that's what it's supposed to do. We have to look at the specs that we want. That's where the problem is. So, and then I think that personally right now I'd like to see this tabled until council has an opportunity to look at the specs, whether we have a roads committee, whether we tour the roads ourselves in, in the councilor's van, maybe that's an option. I drove the roads yesterday. I'm not an engineer. I really don't know what I'm looking for. What worries me is that the road that has been done was done last year, and now we're starting to see it already have failures. So that's what it gives me cold feet. Yes, no job is going to be perfect, but I don't know of, maybe there's other roads in Essex County that you can point us at. You don't have to say anything right now, but other roads that you've done in Essex County that are 2 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, that we can go and see what these roads look like after some time. 1 year is not enough, and this is a substantial amount of money. We're almost spending $650,000 on that. I just got an email walking in the door tonight saying, don't do it, don't do it. I'm not prepared to make a decision tonight on this. I would like to personally see it tabled until we look at other options, costs, materials for the third.
You, Councilor Bondi. Councilor Snively?
Yeah, I'll make it very short. I'm not here, sir, to personally attack your product. I know the company's been around a long time, and you people have done a lot of work in the area. I know you have. But this process on that particular road, for some reason, it failed. And you got to admit that. There's a lot of failure on that road. And I know Councilor Vogt said about the 2 holes there. I know that was from a car. I seen somebody spun there. But going back to I just don't understand. We're into August now, the 1st of August, and that road's still popping. I don't understand. Is moisture trapped in there? Is it trying to get out? I don't know what the problem is there. It's still popping to this day. And I mean, you have to agree. I know you work for the company, but you got to agree there is failure on that road, and there is. And you got to understand, as a council, where we're coming from, because we're spending taxpayers' money.
Comment, sir?
Yeah, I'm not saying that there are not problems out there. I know that some of the popping is material that's been placed since we've been there to address some of the problems. I would love to be able to make a presentation to this council in a separate meeting to describe the process, the benefits of it, and really the way that it is supposed to work. We can go through the specs, whatever you would like to do. It's a sound process that we're confident and capable of placing, and we have throughout Ontario for 30 plus years.
Last one.
You made a motion. I'd like to table this, if I can get a
No,
second.
let us finish speaking, please. Can you finish? Let us. I
Oh,
haven't
I
spoken
thought you
yet,
were done.
too.
Okay,
No,
sorry.
Councilor Vokes is going to say something. I have lots to say. Okay, thanks. Councilor Vokes?
Thank you, Worship. Just 2 things I want to point out. For the record, this council, this administration works extremely, extremely hard and extremely diligent on being transparent. That's why we're in here tonight and not downtown. And when somebody comes before me, as he leans back and says, well, I think the reason why the work isn't being awarded, as Councillor Snively said, because we're out of town, is not even close to being true. And I want everybody in this room, and everybody known for the record, that we're more than fair in our processes of determining work and who it goes to, and the fact of where you live has no relevancy on award. Second thing is I do believe, Council, and I encourage you we have to investigate all comparable cost opportunities, is really what we need to do. There could be other opportunities out there where it could be pointed out to us that, and unknowing to any of us, that you could do do this, this, or that, which would afford to enhance your sub-base and therefore create a better top coat, whatever those opportunities are. But I believe we have to look at all opportunities that are there. Thank you, Your Worship, for the second opportunity. Thanks.
Okay. That's it. Everybody's had their say. Deputy Mayor Malash, I'm going to vacate the chair because I have lots to say, and I'm going to make my points, and they're not going to be agreed upon by, looks like the majority is, so that means I'm going to try to sway you to accept this. So I'm going to vacate my chair, and you take over, please.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. As soon as you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, Mr. Nunn, did you not receive your company a certificate just recently from the ministry because of the process that you use? And could you elaborate a little bit for all of us here, please?
In 2014, Norjon Contracting and Paving was awarded the Ontario Road Builders Association Award for Green Leadership and Responsibility with this very process in Haldimand County.
Thank you very much, sir. Congratulations. If I may continue, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
Mr. Mayor, continue, please.
I'll go back 13 years. Ever since we've been, Councilor Vokes, Deputy Mayor Malash, myself, on this council, roads, discussed roads. Mr. Nefsey's been here all that time. And the thing we hear every year is our roads. You know what our problem is with our roads? Just like he said, the third has logs, wood underneath them. The problem with every one of our roads, I shouldn't say every one, the majority of our roads is the base. That's all I've heard for 13 years, the base. If we do not go down and get a solid base, our roads, doesn't matter who does it, whether it's these people, Mr. Shepley, anybody, doesn't matter what kind of a road we put there, it's not going to last because we don't have the base. 50 years ago, 20 years ago, the size of our vehicles that are traveling these roads right now, we mentioned farmers. Remember I used to drive a tractor with a wagon behind it. Now this thing is as big as this room, these combines and everything. Our roads weren't made for that, but that's who's traveling these roads. And then we expect people like Mr. Shepley and this Mr. Nunn to do a job on our roads and last forever. Show me one road. I was on that road today myself. I didn't see these little potholes, but I wasn't looking for potholes. I saw that street look like a snake where somebody had patched something. There's not one road in our municipality or the county that's perfect. I traveled all those asphalt, tarred, chipped roads. Every one of them's the same thing. Every one of them. And this man didn't do this type of road work on all of those. Mr. Shepley did some. I can remember a few years ago, the 9th concession. How many times did we have him back there looking after the 9th concession? Because it didn't last. It didn't last. 2 or 3 times, you know.
I'm going to ask for a point of order. We're not talking about Mr. Shepley tonight, sir. We're talking about this process and what we're doing.
You deal with the point of order, sir.
Yes, I would say that we should stick to the content of what we're trying to.
If I may, we've talked about not only the 3rd, Mr. Chair, but we've talked about the 4th, and we talked about other roads. That's all I'm doing. I'll refrain from mentioning any names, if that's what's needed.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, the 9th concession I was at. 2 or 3 times we had that repaired. Why? Because we don't have the base there. All these farmers that use that road, they chew it up. They're the ones that chew it up, not me because I'm going 80 or 90 kilometers on it. It's that big equipment that the road wasn't built for. And all of our roads are like that. Before we're ever going to have a road, why have we fixed Victoria so many times? Have we ever chewed out the people that fixed Victoria? How many times? Why? Because we don't have that base. The base isn't there. We've never jumped on anyone in the past. We've never jumped on Mr. Nepsey for doing a poor job of selecting what type of roads we put down. We've never done that in my 13 years. Why are we doing it today? Because we got a little, what was the word, rutting, bubbling? I don't know. Show me a road that isn't rutting. Look at the big roads up in the city. You ever go down those highways with all those transports and everything? Rutting. And they use the best stuff available, as far as I know, and here we are, a little town, trying to get by as cheap as we can, and I have no doubt in my mind that Mr. Nepsey and his crew are going to do the best thing for our municipality there is. Yeah, sure, we could probably asphalt that road at $1.5 million or something, and it might last 3 years more than this other type that we're doing. I don't know that, but Mr. Nepsey knows what he's doing. I bet my life on that. Why aren't we believing what he's telling us? Oh, now we need to get a committee of myself, say it's the deputy mayor, and it's these two gentlemen here. We're going to have a meeting with the roads department and come up with an answer. What am I going to be able to tell this man, or any one of us people on this council? What are we going to be able to tell Mr. Nepsey and his employees? Richard Boselio, these guys have been around for, Richard's probably been around for close to 30 years, working on roads and everything else, long before amalgamation. It's the lack of the base, And how many times have we heard Mr. Nepsey tell us this? We're going to have the same road. I don't care what you do to this road. In 2 or 3 years, it's going to be just the way it is today, unless we put a base down that will eliminate these problems. I don't know. And I'm glad that Councillor Vokes said it's got nothing to do with out of town, because I've heard this so many times when a tender's gone out there. Oh, where are they from? I've heard that many times, Now, I've heard a few times that this road has failed. It hasn't failed. In my mind, it hasn't failed. I drove down there. I didn't feel one bump. I saw the ruts, I think, on the south side, piece this wide. I was on the other side. I didn't see any holes. I did see that, what looked like a snake going down the road, but it was somebody had filled it, something in, a rut, I guess is what you call it. I did see those, but these people are back here. Now, are they going to run down here from down east every time we say there's a hole here? No, they're not. But they get this job to do this next section, that will be looked after. We know that. We know that's going to happen. So for my vote, we're going to have an issue with any system that we use on our lack of base roads, So I'm sticking with Mr. Nepsey. I'm all for his recommendation, and I will be voting in favor of this thing, and I would hope everyone else would, because that's what we're paying him to do. Look after our roads. I'm not the guy to say, this is what we need on our road. I'm not that guy. So, thank you, sir. And no, I'm not going to ask him a question, but thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll switch back.
Okay. Councillor Snively?
Through your worship, I personally don't think we're attacking Mr. Nepsey here tonight. I don't think that's the issue here. We just don't agree. We don't agree. We can't agree all the time on a process, and I don't agree with the process. That's all. Chris Nepsey, he does a great job for us. He does a great job for the town. There's no question about it. And we only had the one tender come in. So, you know, I think anybody that's gone down that road, even yourself, Your Worship, that road has shown wear already in 10 months. It has shown a lot of wear in 10 months, and that's unacceptable. And I, personally speaking, I like to see it retendered, for one thing. I like to see that project retendered again. Thank you.
Question from the chair to you, Mr. Snively. You say it's shown wear and tear. May I ask Mr. Nunn, like, I don't know what you mean if it shows wear and tear. It showed a snake going down there where something was wrong.
Point of order, I think we've kicked this can around so much. Like, we've gone to the audience. We talked about the streets
Okay,
and the potholes.
I'll take
Fine,
my
go.
question back because I'm the chair. Mr. Nepsey.
Through your worship, I just have something new to add. In accordance with our procurement bylaw, you can't retender the same project. And that sounded like I heard Councillor Snively note. You can't retender the same project hoping to entice another contractor who can perform the same contractor. I don't know if the intent was to tender something different, but I'm just educating council on our procurement bylaw.
Wait a sec. Is it okay if I let these people speak now? Like everybody wants to speak. Are we going to stop it or are we going to keep going?
With all due respect, Mr. Mayor, we did have a motion to table at some point, and then you went to
Didn't
speak.
accept it. I'm sorry. I did not accept the motion to table because we were not finished discussing yet. So,
Through your worship, just one last thing. To Chris, can we retender a different process?
Through your worship, yep.
Okay. And if that's the case, your worship, I would like to make that motion.
okay. I'll accept your motion with a seconder. Okay, I have two people, Councillor Caxero and Councillor Vokes, and myself would like to say something. I guess mine deals with the motion. Councillor Caxero.
Through your worship, to Mr. Nepsey. So, if we're going to retender the project, assuming that process is going to be similar to what we're doing on Gesto Side Road, and if we run into the issue, and I know it's hard to predict, but if we run into the issue of having to go further down because of the wood that's under there, just a percentage, how much more would you be able to guess?
Through your worship, no.
Okay.
I'm not going to guess on that. That'll just land me in hot water at some point down in the future. So no guess. As far as what method, I guess council can direct me on how they want that road reconstructed. Let me know. And I mean, we'll build it the way you want it.
So further to that then, so not guessing anything, we're just going to use the process we're using on Gesto Side Road. What does that increase the project then by, approximately?
Through your worship, probably a similar amount. It wouldn't increase it by much. I'd have to do the numbers, but very close. Like I said, it was almost a wash. You know,
Okay.
relatively. It's the third concession is 7.5 kilometers. Gesto Side Road was 4.5 kilometers. You guys are awarding Gesto the process tonight. The total for the Gesto Side Road was net of HST rebate was $327,000. So if I included next year's lift of tar and chip on that, which is what that process entails, it's approximately $100,000 a kilometer. So you would be looking at in total about $750,000 for a 7.5 kilometer stretch. Ballpark. You're asking me to ballpark.
Okay.
But you can't hold me to it.
Yep. Okay.
If that's the process that council wants to use.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Vokes.
All I want to do, council, is point out that that was my point when I said we have to investigate all comparable cost opportunities in terms of whether or not we can do that process. That's why I said our motion should read that and talk to that. is what it should do, if that's the intent. All comparable cost opportunities.
Okay. Okay. Councilor Bjorkman?
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, like I said, I spent some time looking into this process and see what's here and the work that's been done. And we have lots of processes depending on the situation that we have. I'm not going to sit here and second guess Mr. Nepsey. I look at what's there. I've looked at their warranty work, what they're going to do, and based on our worry of the base and the overruns of the cost, I believe they've chosen the right program to do that road, and I'll be supporting this recommendation. I'll be supporting the recommendation here in the agenda.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. Again, I'm not a road expert. We hire our administration based on their expertise. We have several gentlemen, it's not just Mr. Nepsey that's looking at this, we have several gentlemen working in that department that have come up with this plan. Wasn't totally happy with the rework that had to be done, but I've had some answers this evening that support perhaps what the issues were, and who's to say another process wouldn't have had the same results. So I'm going to go with the recommendation from administration this evening. That's the way I believe we should go for one more year. And then if the experiment fails at that point in time, then we should be looking at something else. But just because we tried this once on a 2-kilometer section, there could be a number of reasons, as pointed out this evening, why that one particular spot has shown some wear that we don't think should be there. Norjohn is looking after it at this point in time. I believe that Mr. Nepsey and his crew solidly believes that this is the process we should be working with. I'm going to have faith in him and move forward with what he's recommending this evening.
Councilor Bondi.
Thank you. Can you call the question, please, with a recorded vote?
With that recorded? Yep. Okay. We'll have the motion read. Okay. Just Mr. Snively, make sure Robert's got it right, because he's a little confused also.
As I understand it, Your Worship, the motion is to not award this tender and to compare all cost opportunities and to retender this project using the different process described. Councillor Bondi, you requested the recorder vote. How do you vote?
Support.
Councillor Vokes? Support. Councillor Bjorkman?
Opposed.
Councillor Caxero?
Opposed.
Councillor Snively?
Support.
Deputy Mayor Malash?
Opposed?
Mayor McDermott?
Opposed?
Councillor Bondi, support. Councillor Vokes, support. Councillor Bjorkman, oppose. Councillor Caxero, oppose. Councillor Snively, support. Deputy Mayor, opposed. And Mayor McDermott, opposed. With a vote of 4-3, the motion is defeated.
Unbelievable.
Okay. Yep.
Unbelievable.
Have fun. Now we're back to the
Unbelievable.
report, and there is a recommendation there. Do we have a mover? Councillor Bjorkman?
I'll move the recommendation
Okay. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Caxero. Any questions to the motion? Okay. All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Mr. Nunn, thank you very much for your answers, and have a great evening.
Your Worship, Agenda item 7F, Infrastructure and Development, Report number 2016-012, results of request for tender, asphalt resurfacing 2016, for receipt, council's concurrence with the recommendations, and the awarding of the tender to Coco Paving, Inc. in the amount of $143,153.93 net of HST rebate, and that council utilizes savings from the Surface Treatment Rehabilitation Works 2016 to offset the overages in the asphalt resurfacing 16 contract.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? Councillor Caxero.
With regards to the three locations, Parkside, Aberdeen, and Blue Water Court, whereabouts are they in the municipality? And in the future, if you maybe just want to kind of give us an idea as to where they are, just so that we know, we're clear where this is happening.
Thank you, Mr. Nepsey.
Through your worship, Parkside Drive is McGregor Center, and Aberdeen Road and Blue Water Court are along the beach in Ward 3, on the east side, east of Colchester.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carried.
Item 7G on the agenda tonight, Infrastructure and Development, Report number 2016-013, results of request for tender, Surface Treatment Rehabilitation 2016, for receipt, council's concurrence with the recommendations, and that the tender be awarded to Shepley Road Maintenance Limited in the amount of $864,155.08, including HST rebate.
Moved by Councillor Vogt, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 9 on the agenda tonight is County Council update. Are there any updates to report?
No, sir, but we have, unless Deputy Mayor Malash has an update. No? Okay. Yeah, we have a meeting Wednesday night, so our next meeting we'll have something. Sure. Thanks.
Item 10, correspondence 10A, for receipt by council, that the correspondence in agenda item 10A, sub-items 1 and 2, be received.
Moved by Councillor Vokes. Councillor Bjorkman, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 10B, under correspondence, for receipt and support by council, that the correspondence asking council if they wish to participate in the 2016 and 17 Social Infrastructure Fund rental housing program be received and supported, with the City of Windsor to be advised that the council confirms participation in that program.
Moved by Councillor Caxero, supported by Councillor Bjorkman, and we have two questions for sure. Councillor Caxero and then Councillor Bjorkman.
The motion will be to receive and support.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Bjorkman?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. To administration, I read this as best I could, but I really didn't understand what they were getting at. So if we just have some clarification on what they're asking us to do.
Okay, we'll ask Mrs.
Thank you, Mayor.
Tracy.
Through you. They're requesting a resolution of council to participate in this program. The program has been going on for the last 10, 15 years. There hasn't been any past projects in the town of Essex. So what this request is that in case there is a project that we'd be willing to participate. Now, participating means is that at the time of the development application, council will have an opportunity to take a look at application fees. They're not asking you to exempt any fees, but as the assessed value, it will be re-rated to a lower class, so you won't get a higher assessment value out of the development. So that's what you're agreeing to. And then the county portion is also considered at their level. So it's just being open to considering applications that could come forward that could take advantage of this proposal.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking that question, Steve. I was going to ask her that same question, though. Thank you, Mrs. Pilon Adams. Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 11 on the agenda, Your Worship, committee meeting minutes. That the committee meeting minutes in items 11A and B be received, adopted, and the recommendations contained therein be approved as recommended.
Moved by Councilor Snively, supported by Councilor Caxaro. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 12, financial, 12A, May 2016 bank payments, that the items noted be ratified as submitted.
Moved by Councilor Vogt, supported by Councilor Bjorkman. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 12B, 2016 capital report for the month ending June 30th, 2016, that said report be received.
Moved by Councilor Bjorkman, supported by Councilor Caxaro. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
New business was Councilor Bondi's item on the downtown walkabouts.
If you would just like to mention, she's got the dates and times here, if you want to put that out for everyone. Would you? Oh, Councilor Vogt.
Yeah, on behalf of Councillor Bondi, she kind of sidebarred with me here just briefly before she walked out, and she's obviously asking for endorsement of council on this. I think we would all agree on that, but what she would really like is she would like to make sure that the bylaw enforcement officers are in this walkthrough with us, so they can record any bylaw violations and things of that nature. They really are an asset, and they were last time on our walkthrough, so that was her request. Thank you.
September 26th is a Monday night, which is open, because I guess that's the fifth Monday of the month. I was just going to look at October the 11th. Oh, well, that should be free too, right? Because it's the second week. Yeah. That's a Tuesday night, so, okay. Councilor Caxaro?
Through your worship, I know the dates were flipped around, I think, a bit to accommodate Mr. Mills in the north end here, but it is going to be an evening walkabout. Okay, that was the only concern. I think the time that was being suggested earlier through email was, I think, 3 o'clock or something like that, which wouldn't work. But
Well, the first one in September for Essex Center was 3:30 to 4:30.
Oh, it is 3:30 to 4:30 still?
And October 11th in Harrow
Is
Center is 6
later.
to 7:30.
Yeah, okay. Potentially, I might be hard pressed to be here for 3:30, but that's fine. I think it's important for the building officials to be available.
Thank you. So we want to make that a motion that those are the dates? Councilor Snively, supported by Councilor Bjorkman. All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 15, under announcements. Any announcements this evening?
Councilor Caxaro?
Through your worship, we have a fundraiser for the Harrow Legion coming up Saturday, August 13th. Dinner's at 6. It's at the Agricultural Building. It's a pig roast. There is going to be entertainment there. And some raffles. I don't know if, is there going to be a silent auction?
No, I
No.
don't think it's
Ju-
going
ju-
to be a couple of big items.
Just the raffle, like door prizes and whatnot. So if anybody is interested in tickets, if they want to get a hold of myself or Larry, and I think Sherry might have tickets also, they're available at the Legion and some businesses in town there. They're $20 a piece, and it should be a good time.
Thank you, sir. Any other announcements? Okay, thank you.
Item 16, bylaws. 16A, bylaws that require a third or 3 readings. Bylaw number 1540, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a lease agreement between town and Herald Daycare Incorporated for third reading.
Councilor Caxaro and seconded by Councilor Vokes. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 16A, sub-item 2 on the agenda as amended and added this evening is bylaw 1547, being a bylaw to authorize an extension agreement between Adams and the town of Essex for first, second, third, and to be finally passed this evening.
Moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 16A3, bylaw number 1543, being the bylaw to confirm the proceedings from the July 18th regular council meeting.
Councillor Snively and Councillor, what's your name, Bill Cacero? Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Surprise, yay?
Item 16B, bylaw for first and second reading, bylaw 1546 being the confirming bylaw for the meeting of August 2nd, regular council meeting.
Councillor Cacero, Councillor Vokes, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. When everyone's looking for it, Councillor Cacero moves adjournment. Councillor Vokes, all in favor? Motion carries. Have a great night, everyone.